I was driving and I was thinking to myself, I like to know what my next move is. I like to know what my next business is. I like to know because it's predictable and it's safe. And in this instance, I had no idea what that was. And that felt very scary and unsettling for me. I allowed myself to dream of a space that was the unknown. Because in the known, we know what the speed limit is, the coloring in lines, what the rule book is. We know all these things. In the unknown, there's the space of endless creativity. There is no speed limit. There's no coloring in lines. So while I was allowing myself to exist in this space, I started to feel this like almost heaviness lift off me. And I was going back into like almost child mode where you can imagine and create and all of those cool things. And it reminded me of my first business when I was 28 and I'll be 40 now in July, where I built this business purely on instinct. I did everything wrong because I didn't know what right was. I broke every rule because I didn't even know there were rules. And I entered an industry at that stage that was quite saturated, but it didn't bother me. And I felt sometimes, and I still believe this, that your superpower is actually not knowing, because you question, you have curiosity, and you do things differently.
Welcome to Founder Real Talk, honest conversations about what it really takes to be a founder. And before we start the show, hit subscribe to stay tuned. Well, Kelly, you're a South African founder. As soon as you founded two businesses, and you've also started something else, like you're a serial founder, and now you are the founder of Hopnosis. Maybe you can show how it looks like, which is a premium hop water or sparkling hop water. Yes, looks actually very premium. Tell us about it. How did your journey actually start?
Thank you.
Some time ago, you exited a SaaS startup, like you were in the tech business, and now you're conquering the FMCG sector, which can't be further apart. Yes, which is quite an interesting. How?
Yeah.
Just like that's probably the first question you often get. How did that all happen? And why now hop water? And what is hop water even?
Yeah. All right. I will. Let me start with the story, and then I'll build into what it is. So bear with me. So I'll try and do the quick version, which is not always possible for me, but I will try my best. Beginning of 2024, I was going through a bit of a shift in my life, quite a dramatic shift, actually. I had reached a point with my SaaS business called Vocalize that I'd reached what I call at the time failure point, and I'd made a very hard decision to actually just close the doors. I'd put it down to a great lesson. I met good people. I'd grown as a human being, professionally, personally, networked. And I was like, okay, I've reached a point where it's okay. And only because at that stage in my life, I was really battling to commercialize it in South Africa. Purely because being a conversational AI tool, there's different vernac in South Africa. There's switching of languages and conversations. And, you're a small fish in a big pond trying to grow a business. But I'll jump a little bit and hopefully the story connects and makes sense. So beginning of 2024, I'd had Vocalize and I'd reached a point where, as I said, battling to commercialize. So I thought, okay, I need to close this. I need to get a job. It was the first time where we had actually had to ask our in-laws to help us pay school fees. So it was a really, really tough time. And sometimes you've got to do what you've got to do and survive. So I had taken on a job for a health tech company. And when I first started there, I was like, okay, I understand the software, I understand the problem they're solving, but I need network. So I'm just going to pause there for a second. When I was with Vocalized, I was very privileged to be part of an incubation program called Alpha Code. Alpha Code was backed by RMB, and myself and 3 other startups, one within their specific verticals, and one specifically called Wello Health, run by a lady named Zanele, absolute legend of a human being. And when I joined this health tech company, I phoned Zanele and I said, Zan, I'm joining. I need help with network. Please, can I take you for a cup of coffee? Anyway, true to Zanele form, she helped me. And I ended up introducing her to a mentor of mine, Vikram, who lives in Seattle in the States. And through that introduction, she gets on a plane because she's a little firecracker. That's what she does. She goes to Seattle, strikes up a deal there, access into certain markets there that starts to change the trajectory of her business and her life. Okay. So we're going to pause there, Zanele. We're going to pause with the health tech company. So beginning of 2024, I'm driving on the motorway and I realized that My business has failed. I'm asking in-laws for money. I feel broken as a human being. And I actually deliberately went into hiding for almost 2 years because I just felt worthless. That I was really going nowhere. And I just wanted to kind of be in a space of being unseen. And I was driving and I was thinking to myself, I like to know what my next move is. I like to know what my next business is. I like to know because it's predictable and it's safe. And in this instance, I had no idea what that was. And that felt very scary and unsettling for me. I allowed myself to dream of a space that was the unknown. Because in the known, we know what the speed limit is, the coloring in lines, what the rule book is. We know all these things. In the unknown, there's the space of endless creativity. There is no speed limit. There's no coloring in lines. So while I was allowing myself to exist in this space, I started to feel this like almost heaviness lift off me. And I was going back into like almost child mode where you can imagine and create and all of those cool things. And it reminded me of my first business when I was 28, and I'll be 48 now in July, where I built this business purely on instinct. I did everything wrong because I didn't know what right was. I broke every rule because I didn't even know there were rules. And I entered an industry at that stage that was quite saturated, but it didn't bother me. And I felt sometimes, and I still believe this, that your superpower is actually not knowing, because you question, you have curiosity, and you do things differently. So long story short, I was reminded of that version of Kelly that had this, let's call it this fearless energy. And I was like, how do I tap back into that DNA? How do I get back there? And I had this epiphany around, if you get in front of the fear, it's just opportunity. But if you let fear get in front of you, there's this clear exit strategy to failure. Simple as that. And it's a lot easier said than done. I mean, where I was at that stage of my life, I was in pure survival mode, financially stressed. That world was really hard to kind of exist in. But nonetheless, I thought, okay, I might not know what my next move is, but let's try and do this. Let's look at a year from now and reverse engineer how I want to feel. How do I want to feel when I wake up? What kind of people do I want to work with? How do I want to show up in the world? And I started to remember that 28-year-old Kelly even more so. I loved getting up in the day. I loved doing this. I mean, half the time, and even now, truth be told, I have no idea what I'm doing half the time. But it's not a bad thing because I'm extremely curious. I love learning. And if I don't know, I'll figure out. Otherwise, I trust me, people know around me, I'll ask 100 questions until I figure it out. So I started to imagine this version of Kelly in a year from now. And I could feel this being within me. I was like, okay, things are going to be all right. Anyway, so now keep working for this health tech company, finally getting a little bit of my confidence back, financially getting back on my feet slowly. A couple of months later, Zanele now phones me out of the blue. She's a deeply religious person who I absolutely love that about her. And she phones me. She says, Kelly, God has told me that you need to go to Seattle. I'm flying you there and we're meeting there next month. Don't know why, but you are going. And I mean, truth be told, there's so many times in life where you help people. And I helped Zanele just because she's a good human. She helps me just because that's what you do for people. I had zero expectations of anything from her. And she's one of those very few people that actually does give back when you don't ask. And I was like, okay, I'm going to surrender. I'm going to go. So this very person, Vikram, that I'd introduced her to, I was going to stay with him and his wife. And he was one of my API partners with my software business. And now he's excited I'm coming. He's like, Kelly, I think I've got 2 software buyers lined up to buy Vocalize. And by this stage, I'm like, Vic, it's been months. I don't have faith in that. I had no faith in myself to sell this business. I was just I'd given up, to be fair. And so I get on a plane. Zanele's already there. I think she went to Boston first. I'm in the plane, going to fly via Atlanta. I've got family who live there. And I land in Atlanta and I look and I say, you know what, God, I'm asking you for 2 favors. One, I'm going to trust and surrender that you can help me sell my software business. And 2, please show me whatever my new business is. Be it a product, it doesn't have to be software, it can be anything. Just remember that version of Kelly that I want to feel like when I wake up every day and the impact I want to make. I mean, I know this sounds very theatrical and all like poetry, but it's really a true story. I mean, Zanele and all these intricate moments and alpha code, and it's all over, but it comes together and it just brings something so beautiful. So land in Atlanta, spend the weekend with my cousins. And we end up going on the lake. Kids are tubing, living their best life. And my cousin says to me, Carl, Sonia and I stopped drinking. Would you like to try this? So he hands over a drink that I look at and I'm like, I have no clue what this is.
Yeah.
And I'm also not much of a drinker, so I was quite happy. So I tasted this and I was like, this is interesting. Kind of liked it. I was really like trying to search in my palate bank, like trying to figure out what this was. But
Mm-hmm.
nonetheless, the more I drank, the more I was curious. So whilst flying to Seattle at the end of that weekend, I reached out to the founder of that business and I said, I really love your product. I'd love to bring it to South Africa. Can we chat? Full disclosure, I know nothing about FMCG, but there's a few things I've known nothing about and I've kind of made them work. To which he replied, he says, cool,
Yeah.
come back with a plan. Very high level story. So a few days later, I came back with a typical market share, market opportunity, the TAM, and all of
Yes.
these things that you want to show there's opportunity. To which in 20 months now, he's consistently ghosted me. Never once replied to me. And I messaged him several times. Can
Yeah.
we meet? Can I bring your product, etc. So eventually I decided, well, how hard could it be? And just to mention the big part I'm missing out here is I did sell my software business to a Seattle company, so that changed the trajectory of my life and has helped fund this business to date. And yeah, so I kind of am a firm believer when you are in line with purpose and have integrity and surrounding yourself by the right people and you're in a good headspace, because let's be honest, selling a business, I mean, even just having some income lifts that load, and that survival mode allows you to have a bit more creativity within. And when I came back to South Africa, I was introduced to somebody named Craig. Craig is a master brewer and he's developed some incredible known brands, Devil's Peak, Brutal Fruit, etc., etc. And I said to him, this is what I want to make. This is the vision, et cetera, et cetera. And he's like, I know exactly how we can make this. So truth, I've never once reverse engineered the product I saw overseas. I respect them. They're a great product. They've just had an exceptional exit after 5 years. But I, not saying theirs is bad. I just wanted to make mine different and maybe a bit better in my own mind, just from a palate perspective. So anyway, we embarked on this journey of I bought in certain ingredients from California and he would mix it in his kitchen, send it on Uber to me. I would send it and mix it in my kitchen, I'd send it to him and so forth. So before I get into all that detail, that's really like how Hopnosis came about. It was never intended to be I thought I'd never be an FMCG, never have a drink. It was not on my radar or my 10-year plan in life. But what I can comfortably say, that very version of Kelly that loves getting up, loves what I do, works with great people, I feel that this product is and will be making impact.
Oh,
I
what
feel
a
that
story.
person has
And
been
both
fulfilled.
your requests, they got answered. What do you think what shifted? Because often
Very much.
I mean, I'm quite into like frequencies and, like how everything kind of works out. But if you are in that situation where you, basically like in a down spiral because everything is like hectic and like nothing is really working with the old business, what shifted so that you could actually attract these new opportunities? Was it like you just surrendered, or like what version died, like the one you were embodying, or what would you say?
It's a good question because I think there's so many different facets to it. And
Yeah.
when you're at a point that you've hit your absolute low, what choice do you have but to surrender? Like you absolutely there's no, there's the worst that can happen, that you're feeling the worst already. Like
Yes.
everything's just crumbled and fallen apart. So I think that choice, it was a conscious decision. I remember on the plane, like I have to just surrender and trust, because I've been trying to control, not in a negative way, control just from a survival perspective, control getting a job, doing this, da, da, da. And then when I've actually also maybe put my hands up and said like to Vikram, okay, I trust you and let it be. And almost like let myself just receive that. And I was also just working on myself a lot because I was not in a great space at all. When I did breath work, which is great, seeing a psychologist and those kinds of things. I'm a very big believer on working on who you are as an individual, not just on a professional level, but personally, and how you show up in the world. But yeah, and I think I also grew up. It's something I only realized in the last 2 years. It's like I always felt like I had to get right to the bottom to have that as jet fuel to do better. And then I like started to realize like I don't have to be at rock bottom to have jet fuel. I'm deserving. So I think that moment of absolute surrender, and just being open and not trying
Mm.
to control the narrative and the outcome and all of that. As I said, like I never thought I'd be in a drink band business, and here I was just saying I'm open to whatever you show me. So I think I don't know, multi things, but yeah, it was not an easy thing, but it's been the most
Can you
liberating, meaningful time of my life. And then just on a little bit of a
imagine?
sad note,
No.
I'd also lost my mum, and that was a very big catalyst to for it was a big wake up call. I mean, obviously the saddest, most horrific time of my life. I mean,
Yeah.
Hopnosis has been a great grief counselor for me, but it also allowed me to have space to realize like I need to live this life. I need to show up properly. I need to be a better parent, and
Mm. Yeah.
I'm
Well.
not living to my full
Yeah.
potential.
Sure. And also, you mentioned
And
before
that's for
that
me.
with the old business, you felt worthless. Probably also like building up, or first disconnecting the business from who you are, because no matter what you do, that doesn't define you. But often there's like a very thin line between. I mean, you literally that's your baby, right? You're like you give birth and you grow it up, but then you're like a guardian in a way, or like a parent to that business. But then if it doesn't fly as you want, like it is not your worth. So that's often quite difficult to also realize, because at some point there is kind of like an entanglement, like you are your business, because I mean a lot of people define themselves through that, but then in the end it's not who you are. And probably, yeah, that's quite a they often say, well, a business is quite life therapy, because like you get like everything gets reflected like in your face, like either you grow, the business grows, best case both. But whatever you haven't figured out, the business will show you that, in a way. Yeah.
So, so, so true. I was having that chat with someone yesterday around us as entrepreneurs derive worth from our businesses. It's just, I think I always say entrepreneurs are special kind of stupid because we know
Yeah.
what we're getting
Yeah.
into, but
And
it's
also
so
you
true
mentioned
what you're
you
saying.
know building without compromise. Maybe you can elaborate a bit on that, like why, or like what does it mean? Um, why is it important to you?
I even trademarked the uncompromise. It's last year taught me quite a few things. There was a few things that
Mm.
didn't necessarily go the way I intended, but because after losing my mom, I had this realization that
Yeah.
life does not
Yeah.
happen to you; it happens for you, and it really, really does. There were a few things last year that didn't quite go, and I was like, I would stop, reassess, and I would allow myself to pause, which is something I think only grief can do to you, to be honest, for me, that is. And I would make a better decision. And I realized like God or the universe doesn't say no to you. It might say now, maybe, or here's something better. And each time that there'd be like a little bit of a deviation, I could have said, "Oh, it's this failed, so the business is not meant to be," or "That is a problem. It's a sign to close." And I'd be like, "No, this is just showing me a better way of doing it, or a better person to work with, or maybe
Yeah.
change my attitude towards something, or whatever that may have been." But in December, I had printed about 25,000 labels with a specific provider. And last year, this product had gone through quite a few different iterations on color, on brand, on personality. And it was, almost like watching myself grow as a person and defining and really stepping in at the end. This is the brand. This is how I'm comfortable. And it was also like I almost stepped into this is who I am. I'm comfortable. So it was quite a lot of, and it's deeper for me, this whole journey as well. But anyway, I printed these labels and the quality was absolutely horrific, like really, really bad. And I looked at it and I felt quite defeated. I sat there and I was like, I wanted to launch now. This is going to slow me down because if I start to print again, I can only print with a new provider end of January. And then I have to launch here. And so I decided just stop and reassess. And I just looked at it and I was like, I have not compromised once on the design, on the ingredients, on the partners, on canning, on any process. Everything has been ticked, nutritional testing, third party, because I'm selling an
Yeah.
ingestible. I need to be confident in what I'm selling you. Now, like, I've not compromised on anything here. So why should you as a consumer compromise on what you put in your mouth? And then this whole compromise conversation in my head. And I'm like, I feel that we just accept things. It just is the way it is. Our shame, and we trade off. And you either want to have, let's talk about from a drink perspective, you either want to have function or flavor. I'm like, damn it, have both.
Sure.
Why do we have to compromise? Why should we trade off? Why does premium have to be so damn expensive that it's not accessible? Why can't I just make premium,
Yeah.
not pretentious, and it's accessible? And I was just like, I think as human beings and as South Africans, we just accept and compromise far
Yeah.
too much.
No.
And I'm like,
No.
no, that shouldn't be the narrative. So that's really like basis of where this whole thing comes. So it's the brand doesn't compromise. I won't compromise. And that's really about standing true with who I am, what this brand is, and what I'm delivering to my consumer. And I ask my consumer, don't compromise. Take a step back in your own life. What are you saying? What are
Yeah.
you
True.
what are you
No,
trading off?
that's
You
happening
shouldn't
way
have
too
to.
often. So what did you do then with all these labels? How did you proceed?
They are still sitting at service providers. I'm sure it's at their warehouse, but I changed suppliers. And it was the best thing I did because that label was actually going to be a green and gold, and the mango was going to be orange. And that flipped the entire narrative because I was trying to get the personality of the brand. And then when that era happened, I took time off and I literally sat maybe about 4 hours and I wrote an entire, what I call my own brand DNA, which is for me, myself, and my own marketing team, which is me. Just in this brand, who it is, what it stands for, why it exists, who's it's for, why is it serving X, Y, Z. And I went right back to the original vision in my head when I first tasted it. And I'm like, I want to make this my own drink. I had the vision of the black and the white can. And I was like, I'm going to honor that first version. I'm going to break the mold and I'm going to do something different. And yeah, so those labels, I don't know where they are, but I went for a much better. I mean, the company that does my labels does a lot of people's drinks and they're one of the best in the industry. And yeah, I love
Yeah.
looking at
Wow.
this. I think
And it's
we've
also very
produced something
authentic.
that's world
Like it's
class.
basically like pure. How you Yeah, wow. But a big decision as
Yeah,
well, especially if you
100%.
I don't know how it is for you with that product. Like is it also like high pressure as it is in the tech business if in the FMCG, or is it a bit slower pace? How is that in that kind of sense?
I think it has stages. The 19 months that I was building this, the pressure was coming from myself because that's just naturally how I am. And when you're building in isolation, and I built in isolation deliberately, and I say that because I wanted to build a business with instinct and on my own terms, and not even if I look at my software business, because I was out of my depth. To be very honest, I can't code. I was asking everybody for their opinion and their help, which is great because I learned how to ask. But there were so many opinions that I actually lost track of what I was trying to build and of me again. And you start spending, you get stuck in the startup world where you spend a year perfecting a pitch deck that you forget to
True.
sell your product,
Yeah.
you forget to build. You know? And you're like, there's
Yeah.
a place, don't get me wrong, because you need to raise, but it
Yeah.
becomes so part of your identity that, you know, what problem you're solving, the solution, etc. But with this business, I deliberately exited the world. First, I needed to heal and I needed to find me again. But I wanted to build this without opinions and interference. Because people, you ask for an opinion and everyone will tell you what's wrong with it. Well, I'm generalizing. I mean, I've surrounded myself with the right people for the opinions that I ask for. But lost track of what I was saying. Sorry.
You basically just build it out of your
But
instinct now instead of like
yeah, I
asking
just
people for.
yes. And even down to the design principles, the branding, the way I worded it and how I put it together. Like, I think I was told by somebody last year that I don't belong on the quadrant and that I'm breaking every rule and that he wishes me well. And no disrespect because him and I actually bumped into him 2 weeks ago and he's like, Carl, you know what? I take it back. You've done really
Good.
well. The way you like, well done. So it was a good conversation because I was like, okay, I will prove you wrong, but I don't need to
Mm.
prove you wrong. It's about proving me right. Um, so I think the drink, I've actually not built it like it's a drink. I try to build it differently, not looking at it
Yeah.
typically like this is a beverage and a functional item, more about how the brand comes across, what it stands for, who it's servicing,
Mm.
and yeah, just
Yeah.
it's just
Did you
I don't
still
know,
have
it's
like
its own
some
being.
doubts where you were sometimes kind of like having some throated? the towel moments where you were thinking like, why on earth? Like, why did I end up here? Or not? Okay.
Definitely, definitely. All the time, even now.
Yes.
The imposter
Yeah.
syndrome, and I think also like reality checks. I think, how I've kind of combated it is, and this is where I think I've grown with this business as well. I'm like, I know what the vision is. I know what the big picture is. I've got my little task list that I give myself because Kelly likes to literally tick off things because then I feel like I've accomplished something. But I've decided, I put it in a way where it's like, what are the, say, 3
Mm-hmm.
to 5 urgent things that need to be done today?
Yeah.
And I tackle things and I get them done. Let's say example, how am I going to pay for 5 pallets of cans? I'm like, that's next week's problem. We'll figure that out. That's not right now. Right now, I need to do A, B, C. And even though they're small things, incrementally they move the needle. And
Mm.
then you compound them. And if you find yourself, oh my God, I had an idea. Now I
Yeah.
have a drink that I can actually put down my throat. So it's just, I had to do it that way. Otherwise, I become extremely overwhelmed. And so building phase, the pressure was there from myself. Now I remember where I was going with this. And thinking that I had to move faster. And then people saying to me, Carl, you've actually moved faster than people do in
Yep.
3 years. So I
Yeah.
didn't realize because I wasn't asking for opinions. And now that I've launched, that I'm feeling more overwhelmed than ever because I think, one on a personal level, it's like now everyone,
Yeah.
it's in sight. People can see it. Park that. I feel like I'm being very reactive with a lot of things because momentum is my love
Yeah.
language and I need to keep moving. So you've got a plan and you've got these 3 things to do today, but life happens, meetings happen, conversations happen. You need to do this, you need to do that. So it's just now the pressure is on. Obviously I need to reach scale. I need to sell. I need to turn my inventory into
Yeah.
to money to scale and grow the business. But, it's marketing hat Kelly, design cat Kelly, an ingredient Kelly. So it's just at the moment I'm feeling more pressure than anything. But again, the more I talk now, I realize it's just Kelly putting pressure on herself
Where's that pressure
than anyone else actually. Yeah. And time. I need to make money. So time
Where's
is
that
against the
pressure
clock.
coming from? Is it just why is it there?
Phew. I think naturally I've just always been that person that can be
Yeah.
hard on myself and I need to stop. There's just so much going on right now that I don't actually feel like I have the privilege to pause for a moment. Because it's just, and I mean, it's a to-do list that I've created to be honest. It's a perpetual to-do list. It's a thing that I do. But all my cash flow is sitting in inventory and I need to turn that into something, as beautiful as it is to sing Kumbaya, I need to pay bills. So there's that's
What
very
would
real
you
as
say?
well.
What gets often kind of like romanticized, like being that founder and entrepreneur, but now, like for example, listening a bit of your story, like maybe it looks a bit different behind the curtain. How have you perceived that? I mean, do you get admiration by others, and then you feel like, like you don't even know like what my life is all about in that sense, or is it more like you also thought? I mean, now you've had different businesses, but maybe that, being your own boss in a way, it's actually a bit easier or like has more, like as I always say, like the freedom. But I mean, there is freedom and then there's not freedom.
So, I mean, I sound like all doom and gloom now, but I mean, I love it. I'm so blessed to do what I do. I wake up and I look at my
Yeah,
drink and I'm like,
yeah,
I'm proud of myself. And it's also because I believe with every fiber of my being of what I built. I know what I've put in this can
yeah,
is exceptional quality. It's a great product. I know the hops is not always good for everybody's palate, and I get that. Like, I don't drink coffee and I don't drink red wines. I'm one of those rare people that are probably not human to some people's standards because of that. But I know what I've done here and I've delivered with excellence and I can sleep at night. So there's massive pride in my drink. And people do. I mean, I'm getting great feedback, especially on LinkedIn in the entrepreneurial world. I mean, people have been absolutely incredible and supportive. You go to an event and you really don't want to go, but you still show up and then you leave at the end of the night. You're like, I'm so glad I went because I needed that conversation. I needed somebody to tell me that it tasted good. Because every time I look at somebody, I'm like, even when they're drinking, I'm like, I look at them like, what are you looking at? I'm like, I'm watching
yeah.
every one of your micro
Wow.
expressions to see if you're lying to me, you know?
Mm.
So, yeah,
how do you keep yourself on
Yeah,
track? Like, because I've often, there's like a lot of opportunities like popping up everywhere. How do you say no, or how do you know, like which path you're walking? Maybe that happened to you already, many times by now.
great. It, it happened
Mm-hmm.
to me yesterday. I had this aha moment. So I've had some really good
Mm-hmm.
traction within the health space. So I say this with no ill respect to the health space because I'm very much into fitness and health and all of those good things. I wanted to make health look sexy and premium. I didn't want it to go on like a health shop
Yes.
and die there and be the same as everyone else. Yes, you've got the hops as a completely new category, but you've got the functional ingredients, which I'll
Mm-hmm.
touch on just now, that brings in the health space. And the health space is just taking off really beautifully. You're going to see in a few places in Cape Town there. We in
Well,
19 places in our first month of trading, which I think is exceptional. And that's also, I want to say exceptional because I'm not giving myself a pat on the back. That's also through people helping me. People have been incredible, opening a door, phoning this one. I'm going to Kruger next week. We're launching within a few lodges. We're getting into workspaces. And then I found myself, okay, cool. Yesterday, I'm going to go meet with a really well-known retailer. And I left that
mm,
meeting and I had this realization in the car, stop. You've got a winning streak with these health places, Joburg and Cape Town. You are getting into the workspaces and you're going into the lodges. Those three
yeah.
are really, really great places to start. And now you want to try and onboard more and more. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, stop. You're going to lose focus and you're going to try and chase things that rather these things that are right here, exploit them and really make them work well and prove the model. So,
Yes.
yeah, I
About
hope I answered your
prioritizing
question.
and staying to the
Yeah, you got to prioritize. Yeah, like you want to be everywhere, but it's like, okay, what is working? What can I physically
yeah.
do within I mean, I've only got so many hours in a day and so much bandwidth mentally. And, between meetings and trying to do admin and trying to market, it's a tough game to juggle, but it's like I'm
Yes.
addicted to it anyway. So I'm not going to say tough. It's a good tough. I don't want to, starting a business is fun. It's crazy. You have to, as I said, be a special kind of stupid to do it. Um, but I wouldn't change it
Yeah.
for the world. I wouldn't want to discourage anyone from
And is there
trying.
like if you look back now probably 5 years ago, is there like a different Kelly who was running the other business? Like would you say like you operate, I don't know, maybe even the same, or like is there quite a different version of
Totally different. I think there's more confidence in myself because I realize that, yes, it's a FMCG versus software versus other things I've been
yeah,
involved in, but there's transferable skills across that I've brought into it. So take the element of the product out. There's still
yeah,
Kelly, there's still experience, there's still a viewpoint I've got. I do feel, I mean, I think 5 years ago I was looking at how to look good on LinkedIn, not because I was trying to look for attention, but because that's what I thought you needed to do. How to perfect the perfect pitch and be on the right this and the right that. And it just never felt authentic in me. And I think that's also part of the thing with Vocalized, why it never really, I never got it to where I needed to because I was building it on other people's terms and other people's opinions, other people's
yeah,
advice, which is not anyone else's fault, but my own. Whereas this, I'm like, I'm going to build this on my terms, on my instinct, and
yeah,
a lot more slower approach to things. Yes, I've been able to self-fund, which I'm privileged to do, but that never made me rush anything. I really dissected, not to the point that it would slow me down, that I wouldn't action, but making better decisions, um, choosing wisely. Definitely the people that I allow in my circle, I've been a lot more pedantic. I think it's also because I've become more comfortable and
yeah.
content with who I am as a person. I trust myself more. Um, yeah, I mean, it was a much 5 years ago, I mean, I was 35, so it's not like I'm not old and I'm not young, but my experience and the people I've met, the journey's been different. Yeah, I think less performative. I mean, if I be blunt with you, you go through the stage where you want everybody like, look what I'm doing, guys. Give me a like on
Yeah.
Instagram or a comment on LinkedIn that makes me feel better. I'm only doing stuff on LinkedIn now because
Yeah.
I feel I need to get out there and I need to tell the story. But for a long time, I
Mm.
didn't. As I said, I didn't really want to be seen.
So yeah, because you
So
mentioned like you were
fine
like in
line
a
there.
kind of a hermit
Mm.
mode for like 2 years. So how did that build phase look like? Was it just you trying to figure out how to do everything, or like, I mean, there was a lot of things you didn't know. Like, how did that look like? What did you do then? You,
All of the above. All of the above. I think that, I think there was a bit of shame linked to it as well, and embarrassment because Vocalize didn't work and people thought it was on the outside and it looked good on LinkedIn and all of that, and then it didn't work, and then you feel embarrassed and shame, and then you kind of take on this job, and then you've got this idea, and then you're there, and you like kind of. I felt like I was all over the place, and then I was like, I don't feel like people take me seriously anymore. They're going to think that I'm can't stick to something, and I just felt embarrassed. I thought I need to stop and stop creating my own chaos
Mhm.
and figure out who the heck I am and where
Mm.
I'm going, and just take a step back. And I get on with a lot of people. I can talk to people, but I've got quite a lot of introverts. I'm quite an
Mm.
introvert in a lot of ways because I recharge on my own. And there was a lot of hard truths I needed to face and figure out what I want to do, who am I,
The noise.
and
Yeah.
without the shiny objects and the
Yeah.
distractions and those kinds of things. So yeah, I needed to do it for my own sanity and just to kind of come back to who I really am as a
Sure. Which
person,
is a
not what
big
I think everyone
transformation,
else
if
needed me
not
to
even the
be.
biggest. Like, every person has to, well, hopefully can go through at some point, but especially in a world where everyone, yeah. Sorry?
It wasn't a nice, and it's not a nice thing to admit when you don't think you are, and then you look back and you're in it and you realize I'm not being true to me. I'm completely all over the place, and yeah, I just wanted to be taken seriously again by people. So I thought, let me just stop and figure that out. So I only really started integrating back in in the last couple of
What's
months ish.
your definition of success
Yeah,
now
it's
of
been
that
great.
business? Like, what is it that you would say today that this is actually what I wanted to build? And I'm like, you know, this is my success, like compared to now, because you mentioned that the last business was like, not as you expected it or others expected it to be.
And
It is.
I still somehow sold it. God knows how that happened, but I mean, it's a great product. Don't get me wrong. And the company
Yeah,
that's bought it has taken it to whole new levels.
yeah, yeah.
They took it to where I would never be able to take it. I think success right now, but yeah, it's different for me. So I've got success in this moment, and then there's obviously success in the future. But success right now is more on a personal thing. Yeah, I've learned how to show up for myself, and what I've built here, and the people that I've surrounded myself with. Like my better half has been absolutely incredible in supporting me, helping me even get vocalized across the line, and all of that. So it's just I've learned how to show up for myself, and what this is. Developing a product there's a lot that goes into this, and the fact that there's actually even a product, and maybe success is some people being a unicorn and whatever. I just am at a point right now
Mm.
where I feel that I have enough. And what I mean by that is I can pay my school fees, I can pay my bond. I've got a business that is in its infancy stages, but it is growing. It's not declining. And this enough space. I'm content in my marriage. I've got great friendships. Yes, I have ups and downs and days where
Mhm.
I'm like, oh my God, how do I do this? I have no idea what I'm doing. But that's all this moment of like, I
Yeah.
feel like I genuinely have enough in life. I don't lack. And I'm not saying I'm not striving for more, but I don't need to have fancy car or fancy any of this. Like I'm super, super content. And that feeling of enough is something I begged God for as a child.
Wow.
So that
Wow.
is my
Well, that's
metric of
very
success
beautiful.
in this moment.
And so it's under your terms. Yeah, no, I know. I mean, I've seen many founders, and I mean, even if you have that exit with all the money and then they feel the void because there's nothing in the end, we all chase an emotion. Like that's what you actually want to achieve at some point. And then what is it? Is it safety? Is it validation? Is it what emotion do you actually want? Is it about being creative and like providing something, having created something for others, and you see other people like having a drink and actually just that smile or something that, yeah, it's an emotion, I guess, in the end. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's um I have another what I also found quite interesting is about the people topic around this entire, like along the journey. Maybe you can tap a bit into that, like what lessons you learned about trusting people, asking for help, maybe even with the old business, hire the right people or maybe the wrong people. Maybe you have some good learnings here to share, like what you learned along the way, as all business are people in the end, so we have to deal with them. How to establish your network in like in an industry where you haven't
It
been
is.
quite present before, where it's probably a lot of like vitamin B. How to get started.
Yeah, you said like you're hiring the wrong people. I, for a long time, I've always thought, oh, you got the wrong person to do this, wrong, da, da. I don't think anyone is a wrong person, essentially. I just think they're maybe not a right fit. Each person has their skill set and their way of doing things. But one thing I realized that I was doing a lot is this deep need inside me to help people succeed around me, that I would create success for them, do
Yeah.
things for them. And that was all on me, nothing to do with them. That I would breed mediocrity and then I would moan about it
Yeah.
and get upset about it. But meanwhile, I'm the one who's actually probably thrown you into a deep end that
Yeah.
is not part of your skill set, tried to make you look good, and then you haven't. And then I get upset about it. I'm like, no, Kelly, that's all on you. You've bred mediocrity because you've made excuses for it, you've allowed it, and you keep doing it for them, and then you get upset about it. Like, grow up, take a step back, and maybe they're not bad people, they're just not a good fit. And it is difficult to find complementary skill sets because I am quite fussy. I'm very aware of that. And whoever watches this who knows me will laugh when I say that. Um, just I get that some people have this mindset of just get an MVP out there, make it, kind of throw it together and it will work. But yes, it might work in certain narratives. I get that. But like, I don't compromise and I refuse to deliver something less than excellent. Especially now that this is something that you're putting in your body. So I think I've had to learn to not have such high expectations and stop creating a role for somebody that I really want them to succeed in, but it just doesn't fit them. And then they get labeled as they're a bad employee or a bad person to employ when they're not. It's just not aligned. So, yeah, I'm very particular who I align myself with on a personal level, on a professional level with, and being quite deliberate around people again I'm surrounding myself with. So from a network perspective, I've been quite true to suits and sneakers. I'm a big fan of what they're doing and what they stand for, and the community is just incredible. Like such mixes of people from all walks of lives, and it's just works. And then recently joined the Lacquer network, which has been incredible. I mean, a lot of people from that network were just helping me without even I think they all thought I was a member. They're like, I didn't know you weren't a member. I was like, I wasn't. And I wanted to join a long time ago, but I thought I want to join when I've got something worth showing, and truth be told, I was investing every cent I had into building the product. But I mean, I couldn't, I don't know, I couldn't help it. I mean, when I was at an event the other day, I was like, I'm stupid. I have to kind of just join this network. It's incredible. But yeah,
about
I
trusting
can't
the
remember what other
people
questions you asked.
and finding the right people to support you, or like getting into the
Mm.
networks to like in that industry you're in, which is kind of like an undiscovered territory.
Yeah. Truth be told, I mean, I did ask somebody, do you know somebody here? Do you know someone there? And I eventually just went onto LinkedIn and Google and picked up phones and, no, Kelly, we can't do that because we only do an MOQ of X. Please, can I come and meet with you? Please. So eventually when I've met with them and I've built rapport, face-to-face relationships, people are like, okay, how can we support you? How can we work with you? Because you've got to also sell the dream. I mean, obviously, I understand people have got a business to run and they've got certain, minimum order quantity they can fulfill and so forth. But everyone across the journey that I've met has been so supportive. And yes, they might be these big companies, but they've also once upon a time started off with an idea and needed somebody just to believe in them. So people have taken a massive risk on me, and that's also forced me to just learn how to trust. And from knowing absolutely nothing. I mean, you have there's acronyms in every single industry, and like now I can confidently sit at a table, and I still learn every day. Don't get me wrong, that's what I'm about to say, but there's not much you can't pull the wool over my eyes with when it comes to this product, with trying to pretend this or say these fancy things. Like, I know my product, every inch of it, how it's made, where I buy my product, etc., etc. And it's been an incredibly meaningful journey. I love learning about it. So I haven't sat there like a typical corporate who's got their 5 minions.
Yeah.
You do this, you do that, you do
Yeah.
this, and we'll just use the endless bank account. I've been the hands-on for each one,
Wow.
and obviously my own. So it's my own train set I've been playing with. And
How
I
does
think
it?
you do things differently that way.
Yeah.
And you become more aware of each step in the process, each cost. And yeah, I think in that way I've managed to contain the cost really well. I've built great relationships with my partners. And it's reciprocal. Like, if I can do something for them that's maybe not even related to the drink,
Hmm.
do an introduction or bring them another client, it's
How
just,
does it in general
I don't know,
work?
it's a
Like,
very
I'm also
cool
not from
space.
that space, but like, do you then give them all the drinks and it's literally your risk if they don't sell it, or like, do they have to pay you right away, or how does that work in terms of like risk to get started?
So from the beginning, like, okay, I'll
Yeah.
talk
Yeah.
about. So one, you got to come up with a recipe. That's the difficult. Find your suppliers, your recipes, and then each
Yeah.
supplier has their own minimum order quantity. So you got to figure out that. Then you've got to get nutritional testing, make sure that it's regulatory compliant, etc. Then you've got to find out where you buy your cans from, because your can
Oh.
and this thing at the top are two different things. So you got to buy your cans. Then nobody wants to answer your call if you're not Coca-Cola or
Yes.
buying hundreds of thousands of pallets. So I think even somebody at Norman Fillers yesterday, the other day, laughed at me. He says, "Kelly, you know how to harass people. Like, he's just come see me." I said, "Well, I've got to do it." When I was buying the cans, I think it took me 3 weeks for somebody just to phone me back every day,
Yeah.
persistently phoning, so I could get a price on a can. Because I've got to supply my own can, got to supply the end.
Yeah.
Then you got to go and get your label made. I consider myself the label police, because there's so much intricacy that goes behind just a label. You get obviously a barcode, then even down to, I've got a phone number called 0800 Cheers. So there's so much detail, and behind each one of those things is like months of work. You can't just put your drink in a can. If you're buying from BevCan, you've got to do a thing called the aluminium compatibility test. So you've got to send them your product for 8 weeks. They do an independent test to make sure that your drink is at low risk or it won't explode. Then only will they sell you cans. So there's so much hidden nuances in the background, back and forth. And then bless my designer, she's incredible, who did this. So I did the baseline, and then she took it to a whole new stratosphere. Back and forth, going there, this and that, moving this. And there's just each little thing's thought out. But can supplier, end supplier, this is called a sleeve, getting it printed in the right way. I mean, even choosing the color. A CMYK, then a Pantone, and the Pantone on a can, and then when it's printed, it's like the same color, but it looks 5 different ways. And you sit there at the light and you choose, and it's quite fun each step. Then you find a contract packer, the people that actually pack your drink for you. And all they do is take essentially water, carbonated, your recipe, put it in the can, close the can, and then put the label on. So there's so many people along the food chain, or the supply chain, should I say, and each one has their MOQs. So cans is 3 pallets, the ends is this much, sleeves are that. So you're always sitting at as an over to be able to compensate. Yeah, and then you've got to manage that, and obviously manage cash flow, and then your ingredients have a shelf life, so you've got to use them, optimally, and it's fun. It's been very, and then just learning about where to buy things, and then people want to sell you. I mean, last year I had people that will supply you. Here's your functional mix. It costs X amount per kg, and your minimum order quantity 25 kgs. I was like, are you mad? I can't do that. I can't even start a business if that's the MOQ. And then you realize, like, you meet this person, that person, they introduce you to where they buy it from, and then you go and buy direct, and you're like, I actually only need to buy 1 kg MOQ. And then you figure it out on your own, and you're like, I actually bypassed you because you were greedy.
Yes.
If you weren't greedy, I wouldn't have had to do all of that.
And then when you
So it's been very
basically then
interesting.
sell it to the restaurants or like shops, like do they buy them immediately? Like, do they buy the cans immediately from you, or only when they sell it? How does that work?
I suppose it's different with each partner. So like Jackson's is one of the first that came on board. Jackson's is a healthy, they're an eatery, but they also have really good organic vegan food and healthy. They don't unfortunately have it in Cape Town. But he was my first, say, retailer, which I'm super proud of. With him, I'll deliver, and he has terms. Then there's other people that I'll deliver and you pay me upfront. But right now, because I'm doing it at a slightly smaller scale, deliberately, because that allows cash flow quicker. And I've got 1,000 cases in stock, so that's 24,000 cans, which is shy of. Yeah, some people pay upfront, some people have terms, but I can't extend terms to like 30, 60 days. I'm just not able to do that. The restaurants, they do, well, to date have been paying upfront. Some of the health stores and stuff like that, I have partnered with a distributor now, and they're an amazing distributor. They actually pay me upfront, which is great. So they take on the risk and the invoicing and the delivery. So that's very helpful. It's just totally dependent. I know when I'm going big box retailer, that's going to be on terms and so forth. So I'm still learning, and there's a lot that I don't know.
Yes.
So now I'm venturing into completely new territory.
Cans at home, or that's how you probably started at first? Or how does your home look like?
So, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fridges. I live in an estate where anyone is selling a fridge. Okay, I'll buy it. So I've got fridges in my. I look like
cool.
I look like a mini macro. So my contract packer who mixes my drink for me, they don't ever see the recipe, by the way. I arrive there with my blended recipe and I go and sit and I mix it there. I won't let anyone touch it because I'm pedantic and I'm like, it has to be like hygiene right through. And they are keeping a few of my pallets for me. And so on a pallet, I stand to be corrected, is about 8,800 and something cans. So there's 3 pallets sitting there. But one of the owners of that contract packer actually stays not far from where I live. So I'll meet him in the car park. I'll park my car behind his and we'll do like 20, 30 cases and transport. So it's a good laugh. So that's every couple of days. So yes, my garage is one
Awesome.
car, Hopnosis. And yes, I put it in my boot of my car, and people are like, so yes, I partnered with a distributor within the health space now, actually 2, another one in Cape Town I'm just onboarding. But I put it in my car, I go and sell, I cold call, that's what you got to do, pound those pavements, as Samantha from Oryx will say. I've got my little stand that I got, I bought banners now, I've got a little bar, I'll go and stand there, sell the dream, because I want to communicate, I want to connect with the consumer, because there is education behind this. It is a completely different drink, which I'll tell you, we haven't even discussed what it is yet. And the people that are selling it, I want to support them. I don't just put it on a shelf then people. So I drive marketing through social media. I'll go through to the store personally, tell people what it is. And I think it just has a bit of a personal touch. It's not just a product that's sitting on a shelf.
What is hop water?
There's a story to be.
Most important question here.
Exactly that. You just told everybody it's hop water. Okay.
Yeah.
So Hopnosis is sparkling hop water. And I emphasize the word water because we're not trying to be a hop fruit juice, and we're not a beer water either. Although hops is connected to beer as you know, grapes are to wine what hops is to beer, but grapes is also to other items too. Grape juice, it doesn't have to be owned only by wine, and that's kind of what I've decided to script with here. So we are 0 alcohol, 0 calories, and 0 sugar. Nothing artificial in here, so it's non-GMO, vegan friendly, etc. All those cool fancy things, but they obviously are intentional. So hop water on its own is fun, but the way that we extract hops is different to what beer does. So we extract what we call an oil, a terpene from the hop plant, and that allows us to get 100% flavor, 100% aroma. And there's so many different kinds of hops. You get piney, citrusy, uh, woody, different kinds of aromas. So by doing it that way, I don't get to get the functional benefits from hops. So I've foregone functional for pure flavor and aroma. And that's why we've added the nootropics and adaptogens, fancy, fancy words. But what that means is I put ashwagandha in and L-theanine as well as vitamin C. So basically stuff that helps you focus, gives you calm, takes the edge off, not like falls asleep calm, but just takes the edge off. And ashwagandha is such a buzzword globally right now, and it's such an incredible product. I actually use what we call sensorol. So this is again not compromising. Sensorol is the root and the plant, and it's ashwagandha, but it's the highest quality. And some people disagree with me, but it's really good quality, and it's the only version that's water soluble. And then vitamin C, just because it's a natural preservative, but also for what vitamin C does for you. So it is a hops infused sparkling water that has functional benefits. And yeah, just again, I wanted to make health look fun and
green
sexy,
and
not
organic
just,
and tastes. Yeah, no, true.
you
Yeah.
said it. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, we've got two flavors. So the black can is called Classic AF. Alcohol free, always functional, or whatever your mind first thought of.
Yeah.
And this will always be the original. Then we've got Mango Mojo, so the white can, and I can't even show you here, but there's like a hop pattern on it. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, no. Yeah.
No, it's not very visible here. But the white cans will always be the flavor. So Mango Mojo to start. We're most likely going to do a grapefruit and lime. So where you see the orange kind of copper color, that will be reflective of the flavor, and then a green and whatever flavors reflect next. We also have made a very, very nice IPA flavor, Indian Pale Ale. But I know that is a slight association with beer, but hops have that flavor in it. So once I've built a bit of brand equity and built the category of hop water, I'll introduce those kinds of things. But, from a category perspective, are we an alcohol alternative? Yes. Are we a functional beverage? Yes. Are we a flavored sparkling water? I'm going to go, but yes, technically from a category perspective. We know sugar, no calorie, all of those healthy stuff, but we're a hop water, which is essentially a category of its own that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So I kind of called us the anti-category because want to just be boxed in, just like human beings. Why should we have to fit into a category? Why should we have to be boxed in? Why should we have to compromise? Why should I have to do it with my drink? You said, who wrote the rule book?
So you're not just started as like new brands and like created this product, but also a new category, or actually like that is no category. It doesn't fit.
No, yeah. So it's going to take a lot of education. I'm aware of that. But like, it is what it is, and it's what it something has to start somewhere.
What would you say? Maybe it is as our tradition here. What would you say should be more talked about? In the founder space, something that would have maybe even helped you, or what you experienced that people don't really talk about it too much. What would it be?
I think that labeling failure is such a bad thing. Should be flipped the other way around, because that's really where the greatest success is coming in. Everyone wants to be so performative and perfect and scripted, and ChatGPT sculpted it, and et cetera, and we all feel guilty of it because, there's a story you want to tell. You don't want to sit there and tell this whole sub story of this founder the whole time. There's a place for it, but there's a point where you need to be a business. But like, it's okay to have real conversation with people. Like, where are you struggling? How can I help you? This didn't work out. Not necessarily a failure. And I just think that it's this performative thing needs to be like, talk about it real. Yes, startups are hard, but they're not hard to the point that you should never try, that you should give up because the failure was too big.
It's just a lack of information, or it's information actually when you realize, okay, something is not going that way, maybe somewhere else or whatever. It's nothing. It's just information. That's how I see it. Yeah.
everyone has their struggles. Like, it just
Yeah.
people communicate it normally like normal
Yeah.
people, like you do when you have a conversation. Y you can learn from each other's stuff, and you can help each other. It's not always trying to pretend I'm perfect, that I'm doing great and whatever. I mean, obviously share your wins and teach through that, but it's okay to just be a bit more human and authentic and not try and pretend you're something you're not all the time
True.
to get a billion likes on LinkedIn or whatever the case
Yeah.
is.
Perfect. So how can
Yeah.
the community help you, Kelly? Is there something that would be useful for you? How can we find you? Where can we find you? Okay.
So LinkedIn is my social media. I do have the other
Yeah.
things, but that's just because of Hopnosis. I think just support, just talk about the brand. But I can. I mean, even just reach out to me. Maybe if you, even if you've got people out there that have questions or are struggling or they've got an idea, even if it's not drink related, I'm happy to have those conversations because it also helps me and it helps them. But yeah, I think distribution, network, connections, and anyone who's listened to this that could give me any guidance or advice that things I missed or there's blind spots or ideas, I'm open to all of it. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a greater collective that I'm trying to build. It's not just the Kelly show. This is, before it was launched, it was about building and Kelly in isolation. But once it's launched, this is there's a bigger purpose here. This is a
Sure.
brand for everyone. So yeah, I think I just also sometimes just, even though I know it's
Yeah.
going to be okay, it's also nice to be someone to tell you it's going to be
Yeah.
okay
So
because
what are your next steps? Like where do you wanna
we have our
like
doubts.
what's next?
What's next is to just do what I'm doing and do it really well, grow the brand, get into as many places, the right places sustainably,
Yeah.
and be able to produce more stock. And just also hopefully be able to afford a team because right now it's just. It could be a bit like, I mean, yes, I've got certain people that I outsource to, but that's not
Yeah.
something that I can consistently do. I mean, I've got to now. Yeah, I think just taking this business to the next level, but I don't want to take it to the next level without conquering the current
Hmm.
level and doing it
So what
really well and
contacts would
building my
help you? Like would
foundation
it
right.
be like to restaurants or to certain shops or
Mm.
like where do you see your DNA kind of distributed? Hmm.
And shared working spaces, yeah, where people are, because if I can, like the drink is
Okay.
designed to meet you where you are, and it's about your moment. I kind of have this whole thing about every version of you, and if I can deviate quickly, it'll get to my point. I promise. I wake up, I'm Kelly. 5 minutes later, I transition to Mom Kelly. 5 minutes later, I transition to Jim Kelly, Meeting Kelly, etc., etc. There's multiple
Yes.
versions of Kelly that exist within the same day. So I want Hopnosis to meet Kelly in those moments, but I can't be a drink for everything and everyone. And
Yeah.
it's just not otherwise you become nothing to no one. And, like respect to energy drinks, they have their moment, which is performance. Wellness drinks have
Mm.
their moment. Alcohol has a cheers moment and a celebration and occasion moment. But like Hopnosis is not necessarily about the moment. It's more your moment, which is the real moment, not the facade moment. And we want to be a drink that
Okay.
kind of
Yeah.
sits within the transition between the moment. So we're building a cool ritual around just forcing you, you're awake, I finish a meet, or let's say I go to gym. Well, I'm about to go to gym, have my Hopnosis. I can transition into Gym Kelly.
Yeah.
Finish gym, have Hopnosis, transition into Work
Mm.
Kelly. So it's a
Yeah.
transitional thing that we're trying to play
So
in.
basically then in these spots where people
Yeah.
are in
So
that transition. Mm. Wow.
exactly. And again, I forgot what the question was, and I went on a whole
I
tangent, which
asked
had a
about like
purpose,
where
but I
like
forgot now.
what
So
kind of
sorry.
contacts would help you the most. So like do you, yeah.
Workspaces, gym, where people behave. That's what I was actually getting at. Where are people? People are at work. People are at paddle. People are at gym. People are. I just want to kind of be in that moment that transitions with people, but obviously I can't. It is a premium product, so there is obviously a certain place that I want to play in, but I don't want premium to not be accessible and seem like people can't get it. Um, On consumption, restaurants, definitely. I want it to be a drink that people experience. I want it to be part of their lifestyle. I want them to have that moment where they cheers. On retail, ultimately, absolutely. I'm just, I don't want to say I'm not there yet. I think there's just steps I want to take, but I want to see Hopnosis in everyone's fridge. As cliche as that may sound, I want it to be part of everyone's walk on when they're climbing up Lion's Head. That's where I want it to be. I want it to be part of those
Okay, well,
moments in your life is actually the point I'm trying to get at.
okay.
So wherever that
I'll
may be and
mark
wherever
that
that
in the
humans
show
you.
notes. And let's see what comes back here. Wow, what a story and what a mission. Thank you so much for sharing that, Kelly. And also that showing up so vulnerable and showing, like, basically sharing your story and being authentic, and also being so brave to actually walk that path. It's not the easiest. Yeah, a lot of people don't see that side, but like I found it very inspirational. Yeah, and I can only imagine a lot of
Oh, I
people
appreciate
here
it.
listening to
Thank
that podcast can also relate, or they see themselves in a lot of some of these versions of you. And so I mean, this entire idea of this podcast is to make it a bit more relatable and to inspire others that, like, there's a path, it's your path, but there's a lot of stories there how they mastered it, and often the challenge you face, other people have exactly the same. Then there's solutions. Yes, yeah,
And it's so worth it. Like, just because there are challenges, that's how, again, there's
yes,
failures, if you want to call them that, or challenges, but that's how you grow. That old thing about um, becomes a
true.
diamond. Charcoal, it needs to be under pressure to become a diamond. Sometimes that's what you got to go through. And it feels hard in the moment, but when you look back, you're like, oh, I'm so grateful that happened because it's made me
Yeah.
a better person. I met that person. It's always worth it. And, don't ever give up on yourself and not believe. And even if you have a moment of giving up, just pause or just phone the right person, ask for help or whatever. Building and being an
Mm.
entrepreneur and being able to create, it's a privilege. I don't know any other way, and it's just part of my DNA. So I love what I'm doing, and hopefully it
Wow.
impacts
I
people
will think
beyond
about you
over
next time
time.
when I see Hopnosis. Or maybe I take it again up Lion's Head.
I'm actually
Oh, that
going to
would be
send you
great.
some. You're going to send me
Okay,
your
thank you so
address. I'm
much,
going to
Kelly.
send
All
you
right.
some.
Thanks for listening. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.